All right, welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're going to be taking a closer look at something that I know a lot of you have been curious about, and that's manifestation meditation.
Yeah, it seems like it's really having a moment, right?
It really is.
Yeah.
So we've got some really interesting articles here that you send in. We've got stuff from Verywell Mind, we've got CatherineChestnut.com, and even something from Medium.
Oh,
So,
good mix.
yeah. And we're going to be exploring this topic from all these different angles to really figure out what this practice is all about, what are the potential benefits, what are maybe some of the limitations based on what these articles have to say.
Yeah, trying to get a complete picture for you.
Yeah. So when we say manifestation meditation, what exactly are we talking about?
Well, at its core, it's really about combining the idea of meditation with focusing on things that you want to achieve, right? Like goals. And Kendra Cherry, in the Very Well Mind article, she describes it as using visualization techniques together with meditation as a way to kind of get your thoughts and emotion aligned with outcomes that you desire in your life.
You know, it's interesting because when I think about meditation, I usually think about like letting go and being present, not necessarily, going after something specific.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But that's what seems to make manifestation meditation unique.
It is. And, in the Very Well Mind article, they talk about how popular this is becoming, especially online and on social media.
Right. Everywhere you look, it seems
Yeah,
like.
but we want to go a little bit deeper than the hype and look at, the nuances of this practice.
Yeah.
Because it really does blend this idea of having goals with the introspective part of meditation, which is interesting.
And, one of the things that you highlighted here is how it differs from what we typically think of when we say meditation.
Right.
And there's a quote in Very Well Mind from Radha Metro Midkiff, who is from the Integral Yoga Institute. And she talks about how traditional meditation really focuses on mindfulness, being present in the moment and letting go of attachments to specific outcomes. So it's really about observing your thoughts without necessarily getting swept away by them.
Yeah. It's more about cultivating that inner peace and that connection with yourself, really. Whereas manifestation meditation is a lot more goal-oriented. You're really concentrating on these desires and visualizing them as if they've already happened, trying to really believe that they'll happen.
So it's almost like one is about acceptance,
Right.
and the other one is about like driving change.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's fascinating to think about, how can these two seemingly different approaches actually both lead to positive outcomes in their own unique ways.
It really is. So let's talk about those positive outcomes, particularly with this goal-focused approach of manifestation meditation. What are some of the benefits that people might experience?
Well, Very Well Mind highlights a few, but, they're very careful to say that there isn't like a huge amount of scientific research specifically on this type of meditation yet.
It's still sort of an emerging area, I guess.
Yeah, it is. It is. But what's interesting is some of these potential benefits seem to align with what we already know about positive thinking and traditional meditation. So, for example, they talk about reduced stress and anxiety.
Yeah, and how does that work? Like if you're focused on your goals, how does that reduce stress?
Well, they point to a study that found that when people actively try to replace negative thoughts with more positive ones, they can actually decrease their levels of worry and anxiety. And this aligns with what we see in things like CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, where you're kind of retraining your thinking patterns.
So if you're like actively engaged in this visualization of positive outcomes,
Right.
it leaves less room for those more negative kind of spirals to take hold.
Exactly. Yeah. Another benefit they talk about is potentially better performance in different areas of life, which is interesting, right?
Yeah, because how does just thinking about something translate into actually doing it better?
Well, it really ties into what we know about mental imagery, right? There's a lot of research showing that when you vividly imagine yourself doing something successfully, it can actually improve your performance in a lot of different areas, whether it's school, sports, music.
Like a mental rehearsal.
It is. It is like
Yeah.
a mental rehearsal. And by using that in manifestation meditation, you're essentially practicing and strengthening that belief that you can achieve it in your mind.
Like you're kind of laying down the tracks in a way.
Yeah, exactly. And, they also talk about increased mental clarity as a potential benefit.
Which makes sense if you're, quieting the mind and focusing.
Right. And meditation in general is really good for focus and attention, right? So by combining that with a clear mental image of your goals, it can really sharpen your focus on what you want to achieve.
And then the last benefit they mention is a more positive mindset.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense if you're focusing on positive possibilities.
It does, and there's actually research to back that up. They point to a study where people who participated in a program focused on positive thinking for 8 weeks.
Oh, wow.
They actually showed improvements in their thinking, their resilience to challenges, and their overall life satisfaction. So it does seem like intentionally cultivating those positive thoughts, which is a big part of manifestation meditation, can really have a positive impact.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm someone who's listening to this, and I'm thinking, okay, this sounds really interesting. How do I actually start doing this?
Well, the Very Well Mind article actually gives a pretty good starting point.
Yeah?
They emphasize that the foundation of manifestation meditation is really basic meditation.
Right, you have to start there.
You do. So it's about finding that quiet space, getting comfortable, focusing on your breath, and learning how to gently redirect your attention when your mind wanders. All those basic techniques that we talk about with meditation, they apply here too.
And then, when it comes to actually incorporating the manifestation part, is there a good time to do it? Like, should I be doing it in the morning? Should I be doing it at night? Does it matter?
Well, Melissa Hoffman, who's a life coach,
All right.
she suggests either doing it first thing in the morning or right before you go to sleep. And the reason she gives for that is those times are often associated with alpha and theta brainwave activity.
Okay. Now, for those of us who aren't neuroscientists,
All right.
what does that mean?
Well, these are slower brainwave frequencies that are linked to relaxation and being more receptive.
Okay.
So the theory is when you're in those states, you can access your subconscious mind more easily.
Okay, so why is the subconscious important here?
Well, Hoffman explains that your subconscious doesn't really distinguish between what's real and what you're vividly imagining. So by doing these visualizations when you're relaxed, in those alpha and theta states, you're essentially presenting your subconscious with the reality of what you want to manifest, which can then make you more likely to believe that it's already happening and take action accordingly.
So you're kind of planting those seeds deep down.
Exactly.
Okay, and then in terms of like the actual steps, the Very Well Mind article quotes Ali Levine, who's a breathwork facilitator,
Right.
and she gives some practical advice on how to get started.
Yeah, she has some really good tips. So she recommends starting by taking some deep breaths to kind of ground yourself and calm your nervous system.
Right.
And then, if possible, spending some time in nature, even if it's just standing barefoot on the grass for a little bit.
Oh, nice.
And then she suggests writing down your intentions clearly in a journal, so you're really articulating them.
Like solidifying them.
Yeah, exactly. And then getting into a comfortable position, maybe with one hand over your heart, the other on your belly, and focusing on your breath. And she emphasizes the importance of visualizing a place that makes you feel really happy and joyful.
Oh, that's nice.
So you're anchoring those feelings to the visualization.
So it's not just like a mental thing, but you're also incorporating the feeling.
Exactly. And she even mentions walking meditation as a way to do this too.
Oh, interesting.
So being mindful as you walk and really connecting with your surroundings.
And I remember she also had a suggestion about visualizing being surrounded by light.
Yeah, golden light. She
Yeah.
suggests imagining yourself being enveloped in this golden light
Yeah.
that's filled with qualities that you need, like protection or clarity or wisdom. You kind of do a mental scan of your body while you're visualizing this, and then try to carry that feeling with you throughout the day.
So it's like a way to kind of keep that positive energy flowing.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, Very Well Mind also brings in some other perspectives that are a bit more, I guess you could say, rooted in tradition and real-world experience. For instance, there's Master Sweetly, who views manifestation meditation as a much more like deep spiritual practice.
Right.
He calls it a deep spiritual engagement. And he talks about how it can be incredibly transformative in people's lives.
Yeah. And he actually uses sacred objects and symbols as part of his practice.
Oh, wow.
So it really shows how, for some people, manifestation is more than just a technique. It's like a real spiritual endeavor.
It's a whole other level.
It is. It is. And then, we have Radha Mitchell, who we talked about earlier, and she brings us back to that core of traditional meditation.
Right, that letting go.
Right. And she says that through that, you can detach from this constant pursuit of desires, which is interesting because she suggests that detachment can actually lead to fortune and success in addition to that inner peace.
So it's almost like by letting go, you're actually opening yourself up.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really interesting to consider how these different approaches, one being about intention and one being about detachment, can potentially lead to these positive changes.
It's really fascinating. Now, CatherineChestnut.com has a slightly different angle. They really emphasize the importance of mindfulness in the whole process.
Yeah, and what's interesting is they argue that mindfulness, being present in the moment without judgment, is actually essential for effective manifestation.
Okay, so how does that work?
Well, they say that when you develop mindfulness, you naturally improve your focus and clarity,
Okay.
which you need to define your goals.
Right, because if you don't know what you want, how are you going to get it?
Exactly, exactly. So it's not just about doing a certain type of meditation. Mindfulness is like the foundation for making all of it work.
It's like the soil that everything grows from.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
Yeah.
And they really believe that this connection between mindfulness and manifestation helps to align your thoughts, your emotions, and eventually your actions with what you want to achieve.
So it's creating that inner harmony to bring about the outer change.
Exactly. Yeah. And they talk about how practicing things like breath awareness, body scan meditations, focusing your attention can really cultivate that mindfulness.
And of course, they emphasize that you have to have those clear intentions and goals.
Right. That's a crucial step. You can't manifest something if you don't know what it is you want to manifest.
And then it's not just about having those goals, but also having the right beliefs to support them.
Right. Yeah, that's a big part of it. They talk about the importance of having beliefs that are in alignment with your goals and cultivating an abundance mentality, which is like a belief in the possibility of receiving.
So it's like not focusing on what you lack, but focusing on what you have.
Exactly. Exactly. And that can be really important for the whole process to work.
Yeah. So they actually provide some specific techniques for combining mindfulness with manifestation.
They do. They suggest starting by identifying your intentions really clearly and being as specific as possible.
Okay.
And then repeating positive affirmations, which are statements phrased as if what you want is already true.
So it's like, I am healthy, I am successful.
Exactly, yeah. And they also talk about the importance of doing mindful meditation, specifically focusing on that intention and nurturing gratitude for what you already have in your life. And they emphasize that you need to do these things consistently.
It's like a daily practice.
It is, it is. And they also mention visualization, finding a quiet space, closing your eyes, taking deep breaths, and really picturing your intention as if it's already happened.
And with the affirmations, it's not just about saying any random positive phrases,
Yeah.
right? They have to be crafted in a specific way.
Yeah. They work best when you say them with conviction, in the present tense, as if it's already true, and with positive emotions behind them.
So it's really about like embodying that feeling.
Exactly, yeah. And they even suggest journaling to create personalized affirmations that resonate with you.
Okay, so that's really interesting. Now, the article on Medium by Carl Gerber, this takes us in a bit of a different direction, I'd say, because he talks about effortless manifestation and the I am state.
Yeah, this is a little more, I guess you could say spiritual or esoteric.
Right, definitely different flavor.
Yeah. What he talks about is connecting mindfulness with accessing your unlimited self, or the I am.
Okay, now break that down for me. What is this I am state?
Well, he describes it as this realm beyond time and space, a state of pure consciousness. He even brings in concepts from the Upanishads, like Turiya, to kind of explain this.
So we're talking about like a very fundamental level of reality here.
We are. It's like the very essence of existence, according to him.
And he brings in some pretty big names to support this idea, like Max Planck.
Yeah. Max Planck, who's considered the father of quantum theory,
Right.
he believed that consciousness is fundamental and that matter is actually derived from it.
Which is a pretty big idea, right?
It is. Planck even suggested that there's a conscious and intelligent mind behind everything, which is really different from a purely materialistic view of the universe.
Yeah, it really shifts things. And how does Sadhguru's concept of chitta fit into this?
Well, Gerber talks about how chitta, according to Sadhguru, is like pure intelligence that's not limited by memories or conditioning. And it connects us to this universal consciousness. And the idea is that when you can connect with this deeper part of your mind, manifestation becomes almost effortless.
So, if you can access this I am state, are you saying that manifestation is as simple as just having the intention?
That's what he suggests. He says that if matter comes from consciousness, then being in that state of pure consciousness, the I am, puts you at the source of everything.
Oh.
And from there, just holding the intention can be enough.
So that's very different from the idea of like striving and working towards your goals, which is what we often think about.
It is, it is. He also talks about how this is different from the regular understanding of mindfulness.
Okay.
He calls it self-presence.
Self-presence. So how is that different?
Mindfulness is being aware of your thoughts and feelings in the present moment, but self-presence is more about being aware of your true nature, that I am consciousness that underlies everything. It's like being aware of the one who's being mindful.
Oh, that's kind of a mind-bending concept, isn't it?
It is. It is. He calls it like reflexive awareness.
Wow.
Consciousness looking back at itself. And he gives an exercise for cultivating this. He says, when you're being mindful, ask yourself, who am I that's observing these thoughts?
Oh, that's a good one.
And then sense into that observing presence and say, I am to yourself.
And the idea is that by practicing this, you can ultimately manifest your desires more effortlessly.
Exactly. By aligning with this deeper consciousness, you're tapping into this flow of the universe where things just unfold more easily and your desires manifest more naturally.
Wow. So we've talked about a lot of different approaches here, everything from really specific techniques to these more profound philosophical ideas. But one thing that seems to run through all of them
Yeah,
is the importance of taking action.
right. Thinking about it is not enough.
You can't just sit there and meditate and expect things to magically appear.
Exactly. Very well. Mind really emphasizes this. They say that manifestation meditation is not a replacement for taking action. You still have to do the work.
Right. And they give some good advice on that, like setting smart goals, making a plan, taking consistent action, getting support when you need it.
Yeah, and they also talk about the importance of celebrating your progress along the way, no matter how small.
It's about acknowledging those wins.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And these are all things that are important for achieving any goal, whether you're using manifestation meditation or not.
Right. It's just good life advice in general.
It is. It is.
Now, it's also important to be aware of the potential limitations of manifestation meditation. It's not a cure-all.
Right.
It's not magic.
Exactly. Very well. Mine talks about this too. It's important to have realistic expectations. It doesn't mean you can just wish for anything and it'll happen. It's not going to solve all your problems.
Right.
And there can be internal blocks too, like limiting beliefs or trouble quieting your mind.
Right. And as Ali Levine points out, those things can really get in the way.
They can. And even though it's not explicitly stated in all the articles, it's important to remember that things like systemic issues and inequalities can impact your ability to achieve your goals, no matter how positive your mindset is.
It's about understanding that context.
Exactly.
So to kind of sum up everything we've talked about, manifestation meditation is this really interesting blend of visualization, focused attention on your goals, and meditation techniques.
Right.
It may have some benefits like less stress, more focus, and we even talked about how mindfulness practices can really enhance its potential.
Yeah.
And then there's this whole other level where some people believe you can access deeper states of consciousness and manifest things more effortlessly.
It's a fascinating concept.
It really is. But I think the biggest takeaway from all of these sources is that you have to combine this practice with action in the real world.
You can't just think about it and expect things to happen.
It's a tool, not a replacement for the journey itself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's a wrap for today's Motivate Lounge coffee shop chat, where inspiration meets action. Keep chasing your goals and stay motivated. If you enjoyed this episode, like, subscribe, and share Motivate Lounge on YouTube.